As believers and followers of Jesus, it would be wise to obey the commands of Jesus. The first invitation, though, is he says, follow me. Follow me. Okay, what does that look like?
What if there was a posture of people that when you walked in those doors, you knew you were going to be okay? Not because of what they profess on the walls or their mission statement they put up on a banner, but because of the type of people that were in there. The type of people who are really saying, look, we're not here to fix you. We're just going to allow you not to have a secret in this house. You can be who you are.
There's an acceptance of the messiness, and there's a beauty to the messiness. And years ago, we had someone that going into the bathroom and smelling someone who's sick in the bathroom, and sitting in the sanctuary and smelling someone next to her that had BO. And she said, this smells like my life, and I know that I'm safe here.
Because we want safety, we want to keep certain people out and certain ideologies out or doctrines out or whatever, because we think that's unfamiliar to me, therefore it's unsafe to me. And I think we do a great disservice to both the church and the people if we maintain those kinds of boundaries, because the kingdom is for everyone.
If we don't have messy people in leadership, if we don't have messy people contributing, then people won't feel safe bringing their mess here. So there has to be an aspect where there's not too much programming, there's not too much polish, or else that will communicate to the people that their mess isn't welcome here. But the posture at the sanctuary is that messes are allowed.
See, we can all enter into this place in different places in our own faith, right? Our own journeys. God meets you and I where we are. That's why for some, you might have been watching it.
I did everything growing up to make God hate me, you know? So the tattoo I wanted on my back was I had heaven and hell. I had hell rising from underneath the grounds of hell. The devil had Jesus with a noose wrapped around his neck, hanging him. And then all the demons were coming out, destroying all the angels. I was gonna have it done on my back. The artist that I was gonna do it, he didn't wanna do it, so I left it alone. So I tatted my eyes black to become that demon, that darkness. So God can hate me even more. But one thing about God, he doesn't hate. He loves. It's a long journey when you're out there on those streets, surviving and trying to survive, and in and out of jail. And you know, I always thought that I wanted to be this big time gangster. This I didn't get nowhere. I sold drugs and I had cars. I had this. I had that, and God took it away from me, and I became homeless. I grew up in an abusive relationship with my mother. She was a heroin addict, and I did a lot of things that deserved some whoopings, and there were some times that there was some whoopings I didn't deserve. But I understood that the drugs she was using and the pain she went through when she lost my father, it was more like she died with him that day. So, and I was a walking, spitting image of my father. And so, when she passed, I remember the words saying to myself, I'm a man, I can do what I want now. I regret those words. Got into drugs real bad. And my brother-in-law, he used to stay with us all the time. His name was Tony. A friend of his shot him up with 180 milligrams of fentanyl, and he ended up dying. I came to Sanctuary Church, and I stood there by the doors, and when with my arms crossed, and Pastor Tyler came up to me and gave me a hug. Told me everything was going to be okay.
He didn't really want to have anything to do with me. I tried to engage in some relationship. And there was a sermon on anger that night.
I'm preaching on anger and just how God can take our anger and redo it for different purposes, right? And so we had this little prayer time at the end, and of course I'm thinking, being a white Euro pastor, anger for most of us is like, oh my gosh, Starbucks messed up my coffee, or my wife, if she would have done something, I wouldn't be so mad, or whatever. And so I'm kind of thinking suburban anger. But anyway, people come up. He comes up and he meets with Pastor Tyler on our prayer team. And
he said, Pastor Tyler, I think I want to give up some of my anger tonight. I said, awesome, tell me a little bit about that.
And says, hey, I'm trying to figure out this anger thing. Is anger and revenge the same thing? Because last week, somebody killed my brother. And I've been plotting all week on how I'm going to take revenge and kill that guy. He goes, I know I'm going to go back to prison for it, and that'll be the end. But that's what I have to do.
Yeah. I wanted to kill him. I wanted to take his life because he took my brother's life.
I said, I don't think that's a good idea. I think you should stick tight and maybe not go retaliate tonight.
So he tells him, he says, what if God has given you a whole new way of living now? What if revenge and anger are the same thing, and you can actually make life-giving choices instead of like stealing ones? So Hector turns his anger over to God.
And he started bawling. He said, Pastor Tyler, I'm so tired of killing people.
And felt this cold breeze around me, and I fell to my knees and I started crying. And man, I said, if you will, show me something, man. I've been lost all these years. So show me that you don't.
So a couple weeks passed. He was here every day. The church was open. We started doing some work together and got a job and did all the things that happen here.
We do a baptism.
I'm being baptized today because today I love God. He gave me a new life. He took me off the streets. He prepared me for what it is for today to give everything to Him. I got blessings. I got a new life. I got my wife. I got a new family in this church. Amen. And I give all praise to Him. So if you guys ever need a Bible study, an AA, an RA, you can come to my apartment because I got one today. You're more than welcome there. Thank you, God. I love you guys.
Hector's so excited about what God's redoing in his life now that he has freedom, now that he's out of corrections programs and stuff like that. So we dunk him, he comes up, and all the people are plotting and videoing and, all his buddies.
After my baptism, I get a phone call from Pueblo detectives, homicide detectives, saying they wanted to speak to me because the kid that killed my brother was dead. He was murdered. And they thought that I did it.
A week or two after his baptism, I took him out to lunch, and I said, when we first met, your brother had just been murdered, and I'm wondering how you're doing with all of that. He goes, well, I need to tell you something. He said, the cops showed up at my house last night, and they wanted to interrogate because the guy who killed my brother was found dead this week, and they think I did it. But Pastor Tyler didn't do it. We look at some dates and times, and long story short, when the murder happened, his alibi was his baptism, that he was being baptized. And originally this dude had told the cop, no, I was getting baptized then, and the cop said, yeah, there's no way. That's a wild excuse. There's no way you were at church that night. Turns out that was exactly the case. that he had about 50 brothers and sisters all there, pictures and video as evidence that his life had actually changed. And since then, he's done great and is still doing really, really well.
So God accepts you for who you are and how you come in. And he hung out with, thugs, gangsters. Where do you think God finds all of us at?
I've been accused of, like, from other pastors, like, oh, so you just tolerate all that sin? No, I just recognize all of us have it. As a matter of fact, the deal was, this is more like Christ than anything I know, in that when that woman was caught in adultery and they brought that woman to Jesus, and all, we all know the rock throwing thing and Jesus writing in the dirt and all that, and whoever has the first, no sin, cast first stone, that whole picture. But the one thing that Jesus said to that woman that was so profound to me was when he asked her, so woman, where are your accusers? And Jesus was still an accuser. He could have. He was a rabbi. But she said they've all left. And then Jesus' response to her was so profound. Neither do I condemn you. Now go and sin no more. The problem that I have seen subtly take over many church cultures has been our statement is almost biblical, but not quite. We tend to communicate a posture to people, sin no more, and then we won't condemn you. And what I'm giving people permission for with this thing, it's not branding, it's not marketing, it is literally a promise. When you walk into this place, you can bring your sin and your baggage here, and we're not going to condemn you. Because when you experience the love and the grace and the forgiveness of God that comes out of this house, you won't want to sin anymore.
When I showed up here, the people that were already volunteering and doing the work knew the names and the stories of the people that they were serving. And it's relational based. There's not a hierarchy of we're the helpers and you're the poor and we're here to just pull you out. It's no, we're shared humans with shared humanity. There's a unity and oneness, I think, that exists here, meaning there's dignity. And I think dignity is the posture upon which a lot of the work that we do.
Handouts help, but relationships heal. People need to be known and loved, and they're not going to change just because you give them a shirt or you give them some food. They want to know that you care. And in fact, handouts a lot of times make people feel like you don't think they can do it. And they're not worth the time to invest in for more.
I think God wanted a place where those who don't fit, where those who are marginalized, where those who feel like God is mad at them can walk in the doors and see a bunch of other people that are broken like themselves.
So when you think about a place being safe, whether that's a home, a church, a business, an organization, there's a couple things that come to mind for me. But the biggest thing that I think about is who's drawing the boundary lines, meaning who decides who's in and who decides who's out. And I find that in most communities, friendships, politics, you name it, it's all about whose team are you on? Are you on my team? Are you on their team? You're on that team. Who do you align yourself with? And I think creating a place of safety means that we drop those barriers down as much as we possibly can. We expand the playpen, so to speak, so that the boundaries are actually very wide. Because when the boundaries are wide, then people feel free. And when people feel free, people feel safe. And vice versa, when people feel safe, people feel free.
There actually is a freedom for people. It breaks shame and secrecy to call it what it is. And so when we can name those things, that I don't have to pretend to be something I'm not, or there's other people here like me. I don't have to hide that I'm abused or I'm an abuser. And so people break the power of shame in their lives by being able to to confess their sin and find that healing and forgiveness and salvation and redemption and all that Jesus offers us.
He loves you as you are, but not as you should be. But then like you grow into that, you know? It's not a coddling place. It's a place of grace, and there's a difference. I'm a greeter at the front, and you can just really feel just the victory of when someone feels welcomed and the look on their face when they realize what kind of church this is and that they are truly welcome. It's just really cool.
We've been a part of so many different worship teams, and we've seen like, okay, like everyone's always good at knowing like what they don't want to do, but they don't necessarily know what they do want to do. And we didn't fall far from that. We were just like trying to figure out like, wait, it's got to be possible to not just have a band, but actually create family on a worship team. And like that was a huge part of our heart and worship culture of like, how do we actually like, because it starts here. It starts with your team. And then it bleeds into your community, your church, and beyond. For us, we were like, how do we actually create family?
We're just really passionate about people ultimately walking in their identity and helping them get to that place and discovering that. And I think we both have gone through our own journeys in different ways of that, but realizing that everyone has a place at the table.
Yeah.
We all have unique gifts to offer. And I think too, I think for me, I wrestled so long of not feeling like I had the best voice or I had the loudest voice. And I think just recognizing I'm the only one who has my voice. I'm the only one who has my story. I'm the only one who's walked through what I walked through. Therefore, I have something so unique to bring to the table. And so I think collectively, like just bringing that out in people of just everyone has voice, everyone has something to offer.
And we love Jesus. We are unapologetic about like our heart for Jesus. Some people could look at us and be like, oh man, they're like charismatic. And I'm like, that's just labels that people love to put on things. But I think for us, it's more about like, we're just passionate about Jesus and we physically show it with our bodies. Some of the most like physical, like expressive people in here are like some of our people coming out of recovery because they know they need Jesus. They know that they're desperate and longing for him because they've seen where they've come from and they see where they are. And it's like, how can you not respond with adoration and excitement with every part of your being when you know what God's done for you?
The culture that can develop in the microcosm of just people doing life together, then I think infects the larger body as a whole. So where we have small groups of people that are in recovery groups, some of our life groups, but there's this culture of it's okay to not be okay, that we're not going to just fix you here, just show up. Just show up and like let go and let God. Like there's all these platitudes that have a lot of significant ideology behind them, right? That we're just going to let you be in your belovedness and let the power of God's love for you and in you change you. We're just going to be here to support that process. So I stopped being a policeman years ago in ministry. It was exhausting to try to evaluate people's sinful behaviors and which ones deserved me stepping in and administering some kind of church discipline. Because this person's sin was more visible, does that mean I need to crack down harder on them than the guy who's doing porn every night and in essence cheating on his wife, but he gives more money, and so maybe I have to give some allowance for that? It's just exhausting to police people's behavior. So now what I tell people is my role here is, and I oftentimes don't even call myself the lead pastor. Tom Landry, the old Dallas Cowboy football coach, one time said, at least it's attributed to him, that a coach is someone who gets you to do what you don't want to do in order to become what you really want to become. And I told the Lord, look, I can coach people. My goal is to help them to learn to do things that get them so in love with Jesus, to recognize his grace and power and voice in their life, that when he asks them to do something, they know it's for the better. And that's what that internal, I think the Greek word is dikaiosune, this internal kingdom righteousness and goodness that grows in us. And Jesus was pretty clear about that. He's like, don't be just trying to clean up everything on the outside, and your heart is the thing that's corrupt. As a matter of fact, if you let your heart change on the inside, if you give God access to that, then your behaviors begin to line up with what the kingdom goodness and righteousness inside of you is producing. That's what fruit does. We can't make somebody be fruitful.
I think that's where things get lost. If we become more Martha than Mary, we're willing to clean the kitchen but not sit at the feet of Jesus, then we will lose our way and over-program ourselves out of discipleship, thinking we're good disciples because, well, I'm in this class and I do this event and I serve in this ministry, but you don't look anything like Jesus.
If you are a saint, sinner, abused, abuser,
Heartbroken, homeless, homebound, horror, lost, fearful,
ADHD, a liar, a hypocrite, a bastard, a lover, a cutter,
a tweaker, alone, alcoholic, adopted, abandoned,
addicted, leftover, divorced, disillusioned, LGBT, old, young.
If you're a cheater, if you're wealthy, wise, poor, despised, if you're infected, rejected, pierced and tatted, or you just live your life feeling like a misfit,
just a misfit, you are welcome here.
You're welcome here.
you are welcome in God's house. You are welcome in his presence because he loves you as you are and not as you should be, because none of us is as we should be.